And again, members of the Prep for College include faculty from English, reading, math, ESL, counseling, along with administrators, assessment staff, researcher, IT staff, and our student trustee. And for counseling initiative, I'd like to turn this over to Lorraine.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Noel. So I wanted to continue with highlighting the different work groups. And the next is the Counseling Initiative work group. I get to co-chair that with Noel. And the history of the Counseling Initiative work group was to develop a educational plan for students who are first starting at Long Beach City College. And the work group focused on providing a electronic type educational plan by pre-populating it with its courses from the assessment test. And so from that inception of the abbreviated pre-populated educational plan came the development of the electronic student educational plan that is now being used by the counselors for students, both for abbreviated and comprehensive ed plans, and with that supports the SSSP initiative. We also look at counseling interventions, and our work group is a nice cross-discipline of faculty from not only counseling, but also from social sciences, and previously we had a faculty member from history, and then also ESL participates. And it's a great group of faculty who come together to talk about student challenges and barriers and how to better serve the students, helping them with their classes and helping them through the process. And so now we're focusing on our students. Now that we have our 4 cohorts, we are looking to set milestones and establish messaging for them at their 15 units, at their first year of completion, and then students who are at a 3.0 and above. And then just recently, we coordinated workshops for our students for each cohort, cohort 13, 14, and 15, and went over requirements for graduation, kind of just to give them a reminder of what they need in order to finish. And it was well received, and we got good participation from the students. Our next group is the post-secondary success group, and this group focuses on activities after students are here at Long Beach City College. And one of the most successful projects from post-secondary is the Achievement Coaches. And this project links a coach to courses, and the coaches meet with the students, working with them on a set of curriculum, time management, preparing for exams, talking about any issues that are going on with their courses. And the courses that have been participating is from counseling, Read 882, and early on we had Learn 11. Right now, Read is participating, and then Counseling 1 has been participating with our 16-week sections of the course. And so now looking into the future, we're looking on expanding the Achievement Coach by using data and focusing on student populations with focusing on GPA, completion ratio, and number of units, trying to find out where students are and those points that they need help with moving forward. Then our operations subgroup, this group works on the operational pieces of, for our Promise Pathway students, getting them ready for the assessment test, their first semester at Long Beach City College, or preparing to get into Long Beach City College. And so this is for through our College Promise scholarship, then students are eligible for a tuition waivers. And so they get their first semester fees waived, and then based on their criteria, then they get their second semester waived if they meet the past 9 units and have a 2.0. And then currently we are in the midst of our early bird program, and this is where on Saturday we host assessment, orientation, and counseling. And as of date, we have served over 580 students. And we have counselors that participate, and we see each student and develop their abbreviated ed plan. And this April, I think it was April 16th, we saw 241 students. So it's a great event, and Johnny Mackay puts a lot of work into it, and it's very, very successful. And we have 2 more dates, and we also host a resource fair, and we have also faculty participate in that as well. Okay, I'm hand it back to Noel.
And just a point of clarification on the year tuition waivers. So thank you for the foundation in partnership with the foundation to really help support providing the second semester for students. In the fall semester, we had 1,249 students take advantage of that. And in the spring semester, we had 882 students take advantage of that. So next steps. Where we are with the coordinating team, we're looking at the membership of the committee, both in the initiative groups as well as in the coordinating team as a whole. And we're looking at expanding the membership to not just include the areas that have been involved with from day one, but also look across campus who would be best suited to be at the table. So now looking at other disciplines, other areas on campus, to really help inform the direction that we move into. Focus on continuing students and the progress. So we've done a fantastic job at building the relationships with Long Beach Unified, with Long Beach State. And now we want to focus on, as students progress through the college, what type of messaging are we providing those students? What type of encouragement are we providing those students? What acknowledgments do we have for students as they complete, as Lorraine was mentioning, the first 15 units, the first year in the cohort, really building that sense of cohort and community within the students. So increasing communication, and lastly, support from the Student Success Committee. So the Promise Pathways is under the Student Success umbrella. So we are able to get guidance from the larger committee as well as from individuals, faculty, and staff from across the campus. So that's what we have next. Any questions?
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, thank you for this information. And again, it's just, I'm amazed because we are doing, LBCC is doing such unique work that is not being done across the state. So I do commend you for the great work. But in looking at all the data, and what it does for me is just makes me wonder why things are happening or why they're not happening. So just, and again, what we see there, even with the Promise Pathway students, how they continue to lag, particularly in the math area, and just wondering, what we plan to do in order to look at that and figure out why that continues to be, and what kind of services or interventions do we have in place. And I know you mentioned a whole list of things that is being done, but when are those connected, and are they being connected at the right time in order to to give the students the support that they need? I mean, I know that math across the state is the big gatekeeper for many of our students, but I think that's something that we may want to do to really look at why these students are still having challenges. I'm not surprised to see that the progress that it's being made in the language area, that tends to be the case. I know particularly for students of color, they tend to excel more in the language area than they do in the math area. So that's just something for us to to consider. And also in the counseling area, and the issue and associated to that, but let me just say, again, we're seeing that persistence over time is what really puts our students in jeopardy. And I don't know in this, with these students, I know that you go 2 classes below transfer. So again, if that persistence over time is affecting our students, and so when they get towards the end, you see that drop in enrollment, are we maybe through our counselors finding out what's going on with a student, that this is happening, why are they not enrolling full time? Are those conversations happening to figure out how can we help the student to stay enrolled so that they're able to complete their program? So just those are the questions that, as I looked at the information that that you presented, just thoughts that came to mind. And more importantly, I mean, we have to find out what is the cost before we can, provide any kind of resolve. So that's just some food for thought. But wonderful job. I'm still in on what we're doing as opposed to other colleges or districts across the state. So really proud of the work that you're doing. Thank you.
And I just want to add to that. We really have amazing faculty involved in this effort, and there are now conversations because of our relationships with the Long Beach College Promise, with Long Beach Unified. We're now having conversations with Long Beach Unified about what ways we can use their senior year to be more proactive in ensuring that we're addressing any lack of preparation before they arrive at the college. So.
Well, that's great, because I think that's what we've all known, that is that curriculum alignment, that is the piece that has been missing and the piece that we need to continue to enforce in order to bridge that gap. So, but thank you for your work. Thank you so much.
Great. Other questions or points?
Yes, I just wanted to give you something you can put on your slide. I got the bill today for the Long Beach College Promise, and it's over $325,000. So we're going to have to get out the shovel and get the money over to the college.
We'll make sure we update that slide.
And we want to all personally thank Trustee Baxter for paying that bill.
Yes. It's a great investment.
Okay.
President
any other-
Otto, if I could.
Yes.
I just wanted to echo my colleagues' remarks, Noel and Lorraine, I'm sorry, I always, Lauren, forgive me. I want to thank you for your work, and thank you to your staff and your teams, and also Dr. Peterson for acknowledging our faculty's work and our administrators' work. I'm sure you're aware of this already because it was in the news, and it's a big deal that the White House is, the $100 million, I believe, is the competition for the grant that is the president had announced, or the vice president announced, and some of the funding goes towards remediation and supporting our students. Are there any plans or any kind of efforts that we are initiating or contemplating to pursue that component of it as it relates to what Dr. Peterson was saying earlier when it comes to remediation aspect with the high school students, the seniors in high school? It would be great to know.
Well, at this point, we are definitely aware of the grant proposal. We've been aware of it for a while, and trying to get more detail on exactly how they're going to conduct the competition, but we will certainly be looking at it. We've already been in discussion with the mayor's office, because it does have a strong job training component in there. So that will be the focus. Because it is a Department of Labor grant proposal, so there has to be a job training focus. So we're waiting for more detail, but obviously that is something that we will be very interested in pursuing.
Right, and I believe in the press announcement they said that there's a component of it that grantees will reduce the need for remediation. So there may be some earmarks for that. So I'd be particularly interested in seeing how, as this unfolds or unravels, and perhaps if it's the desire of the board, we can have some sort of a reporting on how we're pursuing these funds. And I'm hoping we're going to aggressively pursue those grant funds. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments by trustees? Great job.
President Otto.
Yes.
Hey, so I'd like to give you guys some great acknowledgement from just one student myself. This pathway program is really awesome when you think of the College Promise and how Long Beach City College has been pioneering this for a few years now. When I go to and meet the different student leaders across the state, they definitely ask me about the Long Beach College Promise, and they say, why can't we take advantage of this? And it's a thing that can happen at their own district, and it's really awesome that we're pioneering that step. I'm looking forward to working with you guys on the assessment process and making sure that we follow the implementation guide from the Common Assessment Initiative. And I'm looking forward to our next steps with that in the fall of 2018. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 4.2, this is a resolution in support of the Kindergarten through Community College Public Education Facilities Bond Act of 2016. This is a statewide public education. This act has been placed on the November 2016 ballot, and if approved by voters, the bond will provide $2 billion for community colleges under the state's capital outlay programs administered by the Chancellor's Office. Long Beach Community College would realize $27.5 million in matching funds for two projects from passage of the bond. There's a recommendation that the Board of Trustees consider supporting this bond. I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Trustee Zia,
Second.
second by Trustee Archuleta. Is there discussion?
Yes, I wanted to say a few words, if that's okay with you, President Otto. I want to express my support for this bond, and which is going to be on the ballot, as you mentioned, on November, for November. And if it's successful, it'll provide a total of $9 billion. I wish, $7 billion of which would go to K through 12, and $2 billion goes to community colleges. I wish we would have gotten more, but it is what it is, but it's still money. And it'll be allocated for existing facilities, upgrade projects, and the construction of new facilities. So I'm definitely supportive of this resolution. And this, since this bond will help over $1 billion in facility needs, I believe it's important that we support the bond, especially since its passage will not only assist our community college district, students and employees, but it will also provide a number of important construction jobs to local residents and provide a nice boost to our local economy. And I would definitely support this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have something to say? I hope. Oops. Any other comments by trustees? Without any further comments, I would, let's take a roll call vote, please.
Irma Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
And Sunny Zia.
Aye.
The measure carries unanimously. We will move on to agenda item 4.3, which is a resolution to support AB 1721 and AB 1892. Assemblymember Joseph Medina's financial aid reform package, AB 1721 and AB 1892, aim to reform the Cal Grant B and C programs in order to expand access to college for community college students, as well as address the financial barriers experienced by career technical education students. And we have resolutions in support of both of these measures. Superintendent President Oakley, did you want to chime in on this?
Yes. I mean, I think the description pretty much spells out the advantage to our students. It does increase the financial support that we get from the Cal Grant program. I think our students are very much worthy of this additional support. So I certainly recommend to the board that we support these efforts.
Great. Comments by trustees? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Archuleta, second by Trustee Zia. Any further comments? We have a roll call vote, please.
Irma Archuleta.
Aye.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg.
Aye.
Doug Otto.
Aye.
Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Okay. Carries unanimously. We are to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately if a member of the Board of Trustees so requests. Items can be removed, but all items not removed listed under the consent agenda may be acted upon by one motion to approve. Does anyone want to remove items?
Yes, Trustee Otto.
Yes.
Item 5.8, 5.10, 5.14, 5.17, and 5.19.
Okay. Those will be removed. I would entertain a motion unless anyone else has
I have
any.
one too.
Okay.
Mine is 5.6.
Okay. Other than 5.6, 5.8, 5.10, 5.14, 5.17, and 5.19, anybody else want to remove any other items? Then I would entertain a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
So moved by trustee Archuleta, second by trustee Zia. Any comments? Roll call vote, please.
I was unable to remove the items because there are
Oh.
so many of them, so I'll go ahead and put in the motion for the consent, and then we'll have to go back.
Okay, great.
Okay, so this is trustee Zia, correct?
Yes.
On the consent,
And trustee Baxter.
and trustee Baxter is second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Trustee Archuleta made the motion. I seconded.
Right. And then we'll just do a vote.
Excuse me, I have Archuleta, okay.
Archuleta
Zia
made the
made the
motion, Zia
second?
made the second. I made the third.
Okay, well, let's call roll. Irma Archuleta,
Aye.
Virginia Baxter.
Aye.
Jeff Kellogg. Doug Otto,
Aye.
and Sunny Zia.
Aye.
Okay. So now we will go to 5.6, which has been removed.
Yeah, may I speak to this?
Sure.
Okay. Because I was very, very involved with raising funds and involved in the installation of the planetarium projector, I would like to ask why we are getting another one.
It is my understanding that that projector is no longer state-of-the-art in terms of what projectors can do. So we have done some research, and we are going to bid, or have gone to bid, for a state-of-the-art, I think it's a Zeiss projector. So I think that it's the age of the projector, and my understanding is that it's very difficult to even do the shows in the planetarium with our current projector. So this is being paid for by instructional equipment money, and this was one of the top priorities from the School of Science and Math.
Okay. Then my second question is, what are they going to do with the projector that is no longer state-of-the-art? Because that was paid for by the foundation, so if it's going to be sold, the proceeds should come back to the foundation.
Noted.
Or we could just give it back to the foundation.
I got to pay that, I have to pay that other
The
bill.
planetarium for the old projector? No, of course, we will do whatever we should do based on when we get the new one installed.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Let's go on to 5.8. Trustee Zia.
Yes, thank you, President Otto. So I see that we're rejecting all bids received for the installation and purchase and installation of athletic equipment and supplies. I'm just wondering, is there something we need to do differently? We should be doing to make sure we receive sufficient interest, or are we getting out the word broadly, widely? Why is this happening?
We had interest. Unfortunately, all of the firms that bid on it had non-conforming bids, meaning that they didn't fill out all the paperwork correctly or provide the information that was requested. So we rejected all bids, and we're taking it back out to bid a second time.
How many bids did we receive the first time that were non-responsive?
2.
Was the document written in a way that could have been misunderstood, that we only got 2, or was it narrowly defined in such a way that we got such low response?
No,
amount of
I
bids?
think there
It's
was
just
a lot of
equipment, you know?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of specific equipment. So I think when we go back out, we'll have better results, and so that's why we're going back out to bid.
Okay, well, I'm hoping we do.
Okay. 5.10.
Yes. So I am seeing, I'm a little bit confused. These ratifications of contracts under $175,000, are these cumulative values to date, or is it each period? So, for example, I'm looking at one of them that I recognize off the bat. I mean, it's hard for me, I don't know about the rest of the board, to remember how much we've spent for each consultant each time. And I know I've asked this before. Perhaps we could see the cumulative value today. I know the CN, the last item, CN 99735.3 with Helga Wide, I seem to recall that we've done purchasing with this individual before, and it only shows up as $47,000. So I'm wondering, is this cumulative total to date, or is it just for the period? And if so, how much have we spent with all these individuals to date? Hope that makes sense. That's a lot of information to.
For that specific contract, that is a new contract to where she's going to be doing different things for us than what her original contract was. The original contract was to do design thinking, but really to get the groups together. And so now, as a separate contract, she's going to be providing the prototype communications tool and more training with the staff on how we can take this concept and move it forward and, kind of make it part of our culture and the way we do thinking. So this is a separate contract from one that we originally issued to Helga Wild. The original one, if I recall, was $87,500. And so this is, but this is completely separate with a different scope of work than what she originally did for us.
And over what period of time did they overlap, or is this consecutive?
They have not overlapped at all.
So I guess it's a little difficult to tell us, and we've made strides to be more transparent and open up our books. It's just hard, at least for me as a board member. I don't know about if it's hard for me to understand. I think perhaps it may be difficult for the public to understand too, the totality of how much we're spending on these contracts or individual line items that we keep getting each time, because I can tell you a lot of these folks are repeats that I've seen before. I can't tell which one's new, which one's old, which one is, what's the total value to date. It's just unclear. Is there anything we could do to, increase that openness and perhaps provide more clarity, at least for me as a board member and perhaps others?
Well, if Vice President Gable can clarify, these are individual contracts under 175. So if a contract went over 175, we'd have to bring it back to the board. But I'll let Vice President Gable answer that.
Well, as an example, if we're making a change to an existing contract, if you look on page 2 of 6, so the next to the last item, CN 93168.7, we have in there that it's a zero cost. What we're doing is we're extending the term for 9 months, and the total contract amount is $100,000. So we are trying to put that information under the description if it's a change in contract. The next one on that same page is another example of that, where it's CN 99717.2. In essence, we are increasing the contract with them by $54,500, but the total contract will not exceed $78,000, and so we've added that to the description. So that is how we are notifying the board of the action that the board is taking in any individual night of the board meeting and what the total contract value will be if it's a change. If you don't see a change in the dollar amount, then that means it's a new contract that we are entering into.
My question in particular is so how do you distinguish a new contract? Is it new contract per vendor or per service? It seems to be per per service. So technically this individual, and I'm not picking on this individual, I don't know the person or others here, could have multiple contracts that could be more than $175,000, correct?
Yes, they can have several contracts. The first one or the second one listed, Hill Partnership. We have several contracts with Hill Partnership, but the scope of work differs per contract. And so what we bring to the board is specific contracts with very specific scope of work and the dollar amounts tied to those scope of work.
So can you describe circumstances under which you would report these cumulatively as opposed to...
Cumulatively by vendor?
Yeah.
We never would.
Okay.
So, if I may, this is, for instance, a professional expert who gets hired to conduct or provide a service for a, period of time. Once that work is completed, then that contract terminates, is finished, and the person moves on. Another time, if this person has another expertise, then this person then is contracted again to provide that additional service. And so a new contract, we enter into a new contract with that individual. Is that the way that?
Correct.
Yeah, that's, okay.
Okay, so.
For that, so.
So